before the playoffs, we talked about this. Florida plays Tulane on Friday afternoon in their bowl game, the Gasparilla Bowl in Tampa, due to the kind of damage that was done there at the Trop.
Yeah.
We've seen this before, and what I do wonder, Florida, credit to everybody that is playing in this game for Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of opt-outs. I don't know how many, there's only a couple of guys that, how many draft picks do you think Florida will have? Just a handful, maybe? Like, I don't think.
Well, I'm trying to rack my brain. I don't think anybody has opted out, at least not publicly.
Yeah. I don't think they have a lot of, like, there's no top 10 pick that's about to sit out or anything.
No, but I think honestly, anybody who is projected first 2 days that doesn't sit out, I find that a win for Florida, right? And I do think that that's some of the culture that Napier has built there.
What do you think about the motivation factor of this? Like, I tend to think that, like, bowl games, when you're playing a crappy opponent, you're playing before Christmas, you're playing a weekday game, right, at 3 o'clock on a Friday. What do you like? Tulane is in a weird spot, and we'll talk about them in a minute. But what do you think about Florida's motivation in this game?
I agree with you that I think in general, when you have an opponent that you or your fan base maybe views as inferior, that makes it harder to get up for it. I think playing a bowl game the second you finish your exams before Christmas is hard to get up for. But I do think that this team feels like they have a lot to prove still. I think that they feel like I think that they feel like fans kind of quit on them a little bit during the season. And I think maybe deservedly so, right? This team didn't look like it was headed in the right direction after 3 weeks in. And I think that they would love to get to 8-5. I think Napier would love to get to 8-5. We talked last summer about the fact that if Florida won 8 games, that would be considered a massive success for the season, given the schedule and given, the current roster and stuff. And so I do think there's some motivation to get there. I wish it was a different opponent. No offense to Tulane at all, but I think it's, you're playing a Michigan, you're even a Michigan State or Oklahoma State, like somebody that you view as maybe an equal that you don't get to see often, that maybe there's a little bit more motivating factor. But listen, we just got to take down the green wave now, I guess.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the motivation factor wouldn't normally be there. Like if Florida had bigger expectations coming into this year, and Florida was trying to make thought they could make an SEC championship or thought they could sneak into the playoff, or really just even if they thought they were going to be like a 9-10 win team and they finished at 7-5. And I think that would be different. I think they would come into this game and for all intent and purposes, they'd probably lose it, right? Like it'd probably be like the UCF game in Tampa a few years ago where you just look, we don't want to be here. This opponent is trash. This game is trash.
Whereas opposed to right now, it's like, damn, we made one.
Yeah, we made a bowl that nobody thought we could make. And I do think that because it's a bunch of young guys, a lot of young guys, there's some veteran guys on the team too, but it's a lot of first and second year players that are on this team, especially Lagway. I think that there's more motivation to go out there and continue to build for next year. And so I think the motivation factor will be super high. Like I like Florida. It's opened up at like 11, 12. It's already all the way up to 14 or more now. Like, and I think it'll keep moving up. Like it wouldn't surprise me at all if Florida was like a 16, 17 point favorite by the time this thing kicks off. Cause I do think they're going to go out and try and prove a point and make a statement. And, we'll see how successful they are with that. I'd be pretty surprised if they weren't able to win. On Lagway specifically, obviously he struggled with a little bit of an injury this year, kept him out of the Texas game. Obviously had to come out of the Georgia game late. Do you think they'll be, I don't know if you've heard anything on that, but do you think they'll be pretty conservative with him because for all intent and purposes, the game really doesn't matter? I mean, certainly you're going to sell it if you win. It's kind of a, high reward, low risk. You lose, you just say you don't care, and you win, then it's great news for everybody.
5.
But do you think they'll be careful with him somewhat?
I hope not, honestly. I mean, I don't think we'll see him be any more careful than they were the last couple of games of the season. I think he's had a little bit of time off now to continue to rehab that a little bit more, and hopefully he's in a pretty good place with it. I don't think doing things that changes his game is a great decision for Florida. If he's injured enough that he shouldn't be playing, which he's not, then he shouldn't be playing. But if he's not, then you need to let him play his game, which I do, to Florida's credit, think that that's what they've done since he's come back from injury, is kind of let him play his game. I mean, they did create that strap to help give support to his hamstring. And obviously that kind of, just as a side note to it, did cause some mobility limitations. Wasn't they weren't trying to limit his mobility by putting him in it, but that was a side effect of putting him in it. I don't know if he'll be wearing that or not for the bowl game yet. Have not heard. But I think we're going to see the same DJ Lagway we've seen the last 3 weeks.
Yeah. Like, I don't think they'll run him. I mean, yeah, that was kind of my thought. Like, they're not going to try and run him.
Well,
like they did earlier in the year, but just, more so protect him that way. I didn't mean like,
it's kind of interesting because, I talk to his high school coach every once in a while. And one of the things that he has stressed is that DJ doesn't picture himself as a dual threat quarterback. He pictures himself as a pocket passer who has some wheels, And so I think this, like, there's almost a misconception about him that, like, if he doesn't see anything right away, he's just going to take off with his feet. I don't think that he wants that to be his identity. So and that doesn't mean that Florida didn't use him as a change of pace at the beginning when Graham Mertz was healthy, because that was maybe an easier way to kind of transition him into the playbook. But I don't think that that's not how he wants to be viewed by the college football world as a dual threat quarterback. He is a pure passer in his own mind. So, I think he'll be fine.
Well, if he doesn't want to be viewed like that, then he shouldn't run people over like a linebacker. They're running the ball more effectively than anyone else.
Anybody else?
Anybody since Tebow. So, yeah, no, I agree, though. I do think he wants to be more of that guy. But his physical tools are still pretty remarkable.
Undeniable, yeah.
Speaking of quarterback, Tulane down their top 2 quarterbacks due to the portal. One has already committed to Duke, and so they'll be down a couple.
I thought the second guy was playing, though. He's starting because he wants to get some film.
For the
portal, but he's playing for Tulane because he's only taken a handful of snaps for them or whatever. So he wants some game film. So down 2, but one's playing.
A little bit better. Playing with their backup quarterback against a defense that has been really good lately. Like, I will say, Tulane's starter plays in this game. I might like them to kind of keep it close because, they kind of view it as like the Super Bowl, right? Like, we can take down Florida. Without him, that's why I really like UF to just beat the brakes off of them if UF plays and plays well, which I kind of expect them to because of all the things we've talked about, Lagway, the mentality, that nobody opting out. If he was playing, though, their offense is really good. They nearly beat Oklahoma. They nearly beat Kansas State. They're a really good team. But having to play a backup against a UF defense that, again, has been really good down the stretch seems pretty daunting for Tulane.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's this is a big ask for them. And I'll be interested to look, like we said, their starting quarterback's opting out. I'd love to look down the rundown and see who else is opting out, because they will have guys that are looking to kind of jump to larger programs. And is the risk of injury against an SEC team that is hungry worth it to probably get the brakes beat off you? I don't know. But I'll be interested to see that as well. But I'm just glad Florida doesn't have any opt-outs. But I agree. This is a hard ask for Tulane. Okay, so one more time, guys. I so appreciate you turning into a peek inside SEC football. TJ and I have been talking about this channel for a long time. We are old friends that love arguing college football with each other. So make sure that you are subscribed to this channel. It's an easy way to support us. We're going to have lots of new content coming your way. We are excited for the playoffs. We're excited for all these bowl games and, all this transfer portal talk that is going to be going on right now.